Hello and welcome to our today's Extreme TV show. I'm here with Oliver and we have a topic to talk about. It's edge computing. But first of all, I'd like to introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me. My name is Oliver Meurer. I'm with Flowworks here in Munich. We are a software maker and we basically do anything that has to do with media. So we're talking about a MAM system, a device management system, a workflow system. We talk a lot about archiving and managing your archive. We talk a lot about publishing, deliveries, basically monetizing your product. So we have a whole range of software products, which obviously all are connected via the topic media.
And today we are talking about edge computing. What is it?
Well, look, edge computing is something that's come out of the IoT business, the Internet of Things. What people have discovered there when they started using cloud is that it doesn't necessarily make sense to have all your processing power just in the cloud. Why? Because you have too much data or you have very heavy data, and the time lag of actually transferring everything, getting it analyzed and getting it back to the machine, which comes from the shop floor in a factory, that's where the IoT technology was first used, is something that we find is very, very similar to media, where edge computing basically means you do some of the processing selectively and targetedly, locally, on the ground, where your editing suite is, where your camera is, where your color grading is, and other parts of your processes you do in the cloud. So it's all about efficiency.
And how do I decide what is cloud and what's on-prem?
Fairly simple. It depends on how much processing power does something need. For example, if you have big source files and you need to transcode them, that eats a lot of resource. What are the resources being eaten? I need to transfer it to the cloud in order to have it transcoded there. So your first bottleneck is going to be that's going to take a while for you to transfer that over to your cloud service. The second bottleneck might be, do I have the transcoding power in the cloud? The answer is probably yes. But the first bottleneck of actually getting that source file into the cloud in order to even to be able to see a proxy, that's already a bit of a knockout for any pricing in terms of how much does it cost, or timing in terms of how long does that take.
But does that mean that I need to have everything double?
No, it doesn't. It means that you basically have your overall process, but you more intelligently subdivide the tasks between the stuff that you want to do locally and where you keep going back to source files, and you'd want to work on the edge of the cloud by working locally. So you're working with the cloud, but you are also working on the edge of the cloud. That's where the word comes from. And that's what its real meaning is. And that's where the benefit of cloud computing actually lies.
So what is your product in that case? What do you offer to me?
Well, basically we offer you intelligence. And at the end of the day, the benefits that you're going to get are speed, you're going to get much better economy, and you're going to get much better security. So if you are processing content which is very sensitive, are you sure you really want to have that in the cloud? Are you sure your customer, the guy you're producing for, is okay with having that content on the cloud? So security is a really big issue. Economy, does it make sense to transfer the source file, which may be very big, you're talking about 4K, 8K, whatever, to transfer that into the cloud and to store it there? Why are you storing it there? Because you're not ever going to access that with all of your other machinery, like an editing suite. Your color grading, that's going to use that particular piece of media locally. So why are you transferring it to the cloud and paying for the storage? And of course, speed, as I already said. Stuff has come off the camera, it's red hot, it needs to go into edit now. We need a piece really quickly, we want to do rushes, we want to do a news show, whatever. Transferring it into the cloud, doing the processing there in order to play it out, you're creating quite a long wait until you've actually uploaded the source file. What we're saying very simply is we have a dual system, a hybrid system, where there's a small but very powerful instance which is on-prem. That checks in the new items, that keeps them locally, but it generates proxies, for example. It actually generates the proxies, which makes it visible. It allows you to directly transfer into your on-prem edit, your on-prem let's say, translation service, your on-prem color grading, anything that really takes some processing power and needs the source file, we'll do that on-prem. But that little box that we're offering you works with the same system, which is sitting in the cloud. So it's actually one system that we're offering, but it has two locations. And that allows us to much more intelligently subdivide the overall process, delivering speed, economy, and security.
Security. How do you take care that the content stays safe?
Well, it's a matter of just the workflows that we're using. So what our system actually does, it offers workflows. And in a workflow where you say, I have sensitive content, that content is marked as sensitive. So we ensure that that does not leave the local system, because we can block it from ever going to the cloud or any other third party where you don't want that to be, by simply tagging it, simply put, but make it available for your local processing. And only once you've taken a decision, right, we're happy, this is good, the editing has been done, we now have a new version which we'd like to publish, you give that a different tag, you say this is now publishable, and that particular version, why not put it on the cloud for playout or for delivery to your final customers, who may be more than one.
Which cloud are you using to provide that?
Well, we're quite agnostic. So we love all clouds, of course. Hey, everybody. No, it doesn't make any difference to us. So we can use any cloud system. We also have setups where we have the edge working locally, but it actually interacts with a flow center which is hosted by us, which is kind of like running your own cloud. So there's all sorts of different architectures possible, and it's totally independent of which cloud you're using, or even multiple clouds.
Mm-hmm. How would the architecture look like in general? You have the on-premise installation, it's one server, and you do talk to whatever cloud.
Exactly. You can then expand on that. For example, we have services which are so-called microsystems. So in fact, they are a server, but they come in a very small box about this size, which some of you may know them, the Intel NUCs. They exist in all sorts of variants, including GPUs. So we have GPU transcoding on board in our flow center, for example. So we would be talking about a local instance, which would be integrated in the local network with the client, where also his editing suites are, where also his color grading is, where also his maybe secure storage is. And that system, in a very simple setup, would interact with a second flow center sitting in the cloud, which would be the recipient of the files which are ready for broadcast, which are ready for playout. And the cloud would manage that delivery and that playout, not the local one, because obviously your local internet in your office is not going to be as powerful as the one in the cloud. So we're making the best use of both worlds. Other architectures can include, and often do include, that we have multiple locations. So you might have one location where the ingest happens, which is on-prem, a flow center on-prem, but there's a second location, your own location, where the editing happens. There we can have a second flow center, and both of those are coupled to the flow cloud. So in fact, you've now got 3 or even more locations, and we have a process called flow-to-flow, which I think is self-explanatory. Others have this too, of course. Not many, but others have it. And it's a matter of having the right and intelligent workflows of sharing the content across this decentralized network, which doesn't rely on one great big server standing somewhere and everybody else who's not sitting in the same network has a problem, but actually sharing the work across even your offices plus the cloud.
And what's the benefit of the flow edge computing compared to others?
Well, put it this way, there aren't many others. Quite simply put, as far as we know, we're the first ones to offer edge computing for media. And by that I mean we don't just offer the hardware and the concept, but we actually have all the workflows, the media workflows, the media processing that you use for media. So we're very happy to say, I think we're pretty much the first one. Maybe there's somebody else. If you also have edge computing, get in touch and let's get together. But the benefits compared to other systems, again, are security, economy, and speed. And those will really make a big difference. So edge computing is super relevant, even if you're not producing long form, because it's going to be faster. In any circumstance, and the larger your format is, the higher your quality is, the better our speed advantage and cost advantage gets.
So each Flowworks customer, like a media asset management customer, could use edge computing in future?
Yeah, sure. It's an add-on, like so many of our products. It's a module, and you simply add that onto the system that you have. Let's say you're a customer who just works in the cloud, and you realize, I do so much locally, I need a second. Then you get yourself a Flow Edge, and you add that process, or vice versa. We have customers who say, we already have a local installation plus a cloud installation, so I'm just going to add the software module because I already have a server that I can run the Flow Edge on. So it's a module that you add to whatever environment you're in.
So could I use all other modules that you are offering, like all the presentation rooms or all the media archive options on both sides?
Oh, sure. That's exactly what the system does. That's what Flow to Flow is all about. So you basically have two systems, and they share information. It feels as one system, and it doesn't really matter where you're logging in. Depending on how you steered the system, you will see all the content. And it's totally irrelevant to you where the file actually sits, because you can preview it, you can start working on it. If you have a specific use case for the source file, for the really big original, then we'll pull it. Or maybe you already have it on-prem, because it's in your Flow Edge.
Can I decide where I store my content?
Absolutely.
Even if I do on-premise processing,
Yes.
store it everything in the cloud,
Yeah.
if I'm allowed to?
If you're allowed to, if you want to do that, and if it's expedient, of course, to your processes, absolutely. You're totally free to design the workflow that you'd like. As you know, we have a module called the Device and Workflow Manager, and that's exactly there for you. The Workflow Manager allows our customers to self-design, i.e. autonomously design any workflow that they want, any processing that they want, and stick it into the system. And whether they want machine A local or machine B in the cloud to execute that is totally up to them. So we'll obviously help people design these workflows, and we consult them a little bit because we have a lot of experience, but they're totally free to design and build and run any workflow they'd like.
Good, thank you. Anything you like to add to that explanations?
Well, look, it's new. You know, people I think, will listen up. The bottom line is it really does make a difference. It makes a difference to your speed. It makes a really significant difference in the cost side. And it will make a huge difference on your security side. So have a read about what edge computing is, even in other circumstances. Have a read about edge computing in media. You'll find a lot of articles, especially from storage and hardware manufacturers, because for them it's already a topic. But we're the guys with the software to make sense of it all and to really make sense of a cloud service.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thanks.
So if you are interested in edge computing, if you are interested in the products of Flowworks, in the opportunities we can offer to you by using both, just reach out to us. Thank you for watching today. Bye-bye.